The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. And on those in the land, living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. Sometimes I'll wake up in the night in my bedroom that I've been in many times, and it's very familiar to me, my bedroom. And yet, in the middle of the night, it's dark, all the lights are off, there's no light outside, and if I have to get up to go somewhere, in the darkness it can become disorienting. And the bedroom that I am familiar with, I've walked it 1,000, maybe 2,000, maybe 5,000 times. I'll get lost in my own bedroom, and I'll bump into things, and I'll be trying to feel my way, and sometimes I'll be facing the wrong direction. And in my own bedroom that's very familiar, the dark can be disorienting. But in our bathroom that's attached to our bedroom, I have a razor, a shaver, and if it's plugged in, there's one little red light that shines when it's plugged in. And that light does not light up the room. It doesn't eliminate the darkness in the room. But if I can see that light, suddenly I'm no longer disoriented. I have perspective. I know where I am. I know what way I'm facing. I know where the bed is, and I can navigate my way there. And that one little point of light, even though it doesn't eliminate the darkness, it gives me perspective. And it gives me clarity in an otherwise very dark place. Maybe up the ante on that a little bit. How many of you have ever been lost in the woods? I certainly have. Lost in the woods, and in the woods at night. And that can be a much more fearful thing. It's one thing to trip over your nightstand. It's another to be lost in the woods and to not know your way out. And again, even woods and land that I'm familiar with, that I've been many times in the dark, you don't know which direction you're going. The darkness just takes that and it makes it a potentially dangerous thing and a fearful thing. To be lost in the woods at night is a fearful thing. But again, those times when I've been there, if you can see a light somewhere, maybe it's a car, you see a car drive down a road, and suddenly that light, it gives you a direction. Okay, that's where the road is. Or maybe it's the light on somebody's house, or sometimes it's just the light way up on a tower, but if you see it there, in all the darkness of the woods, your circumstance doesn't change, but there's the light, and it gives you a direction. I can go that way. And when you have a direction, it also gives you hope, I think. Okay, this is not as fearful as it once was, because I can see where I can go. I can see where I should go. And so that light in the dark woods, it gives direction, it gives hope, and it gives some peace to us. That's how God describes what we're celebrating here today. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. The way that God describes what we're celebrating, the way that God describes that first Christmas is that there was a light that came into an otherwise dark place. And the light that came on that Christmas, the light that God was talking about here, was an unusual light, perhaps not the light we would expect to come into a dark place. This light that people have seen, this light that shines on those living in the land of the shadow of death, was in a different form than perhaps you'd think the light would come. It's in the form of a little boy. A son is born. A child is born. For to us a child is born. To us a son is given. And that little baby that came into the world, that was born on Christmas so long ago, that little son of God, that child that was born, God says this is a light coming into a dark, dark place. Why? Why was that boy a light in a dark place? Well, it's because of who he was. That light, that baby was Jesus. And Jesus was God himself, Emmanuel. One of the names for Jesus is Emmanuel, which means God with us. Jesus was God. God came down and took on a body like ours and lived in the world that we lived in. This God who created light, God who, it says, holds light in his hand. It says in the Bible that God lives in unapproachable light. Light is just, he lives in it and it shines out of him. This God of light, came into a body like ours. God came to be with us, and that light that was in God, that light that is God, shone out of that little boy. In fact, many years later, when Jesus was grown, he was a man, he would say that. He would say, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Jesus was saying to the people around him, you live in a dark place, and it's easy to lose perspective, and it is easy to lose direction. And in fact, this dark place that you live is fearful at times, and it's fearful because it's dangerous at times. We live in a dangerous, dark world, and Jesus said, I'm here to be a light. And you can walk now in this world, not in that pitch darkness, not in that pitch darkness. It's like one light shining in a dark room. It gives perspective. Jesus gives perspective, and it gives clarity. That light of that little boy gives us perspective and clarity in this world. But he was more than just that. The light that came that Christmas was more than just being able to navigate in a dark place. You see, the light of Jesus is also a beacon. It's something that calls us and guides us to someplace else. It's like a lighthouse. In John 1, a little bit earlier, Jesus said, in him was life. That's Jesus. And that life was the light of men. You see, this light that was Jesus was not just a light, but somehow it was a life-giving light. It's like a lighthouse. A lighthouse does something specific. It beckons and it guides ships that are out on a stormy, dangerous sea, and it calls them to a safe harbor. And a mariner out on the stormy ocean when the waves are high and there's no light to navigate by, and you don't know where the land is and where the ocean is, and there's no stars to see which direction you're going, nothing to navigate by, and they're tossed and they can't know where to go. But when they see that lighthouse, when they see the light of the lighthouse, it beckons them. And when they see it, they change course, because they know that's where safe harbor is. That's where safety is. I can see the light. And so they change course and they navigate toward the light, and they do it with reckless abandon. They don't care about anything else. They don't worry about running into the rocks, because that light is where I need to go. And it's the same with us, with Jesus. Jesus, that light of the world that came into our dark world so many years ago, he beckons us and he guides us home. He beckons us and he guides us out of a dark, stormy, dangerous world home to safe harbor. But like the ships, like those mariners, when we see that light of Jesus, we have to change course. We have to decide, you know what, I'm going to follow that light. I could keep trying to navigate on my own. I could keep trying to do this myself, or I can change course and follow that beacon. And I can follow with reckless abandon. And there's Jesus, and he's calling me home, so I'm going to point myself at him, and I'm going to follow. And he leads us home. He's a good lighthouse. He's a true light, and we can trust in him. In John it says, yet to all who received him, if we choose to believe, Jesus, you can save me. You want to save me. If we choose to believe that to those who received him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. You have a home that Jesus calls you to. Out of this dark world where we're lost, out of this dark world where we're confused, out of this dark, dangerous, stormy world, Jesus calls us home. He gives us direction. He gives us hope, and he gives us peace. So, at Christmas time, and really any time of the year, we can fix our eyes on that light. We can look at the light. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. Sometimes in this dark world, we know the world is troubled. We know the world is dangerous. We know that we're lost, and we see the light, but we're not sure if we should follow it. Well, Jesus says, you know what? I can help you with that. I can help you with that. Come. Fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith. See, Jesus doesn't change the world we live in. He doesn't make the entire darkness go away. He doesn't make all of the storms of life stop. But he does give us a light to come toward. He says, if you follow me, you won't walk in darkness. I can give you perspective. I can give you clarity. I can give you direction. And I can give you hope and peace. And I can take you out of the storm, and I can bring you home. And sometimes I think we think, if I just look into the darkness enough, I'll figure it out, or I'll be able to see through it. If I just try hard enough, I can work through this storm. But the truth is, we can't. We can't see through the storms. We can't see through the dark. So to focus on it won't help us. Instead, I'm going to focus on the light. I'm going to look to the light. That light that gives me perspective in this world. That light that gives me clarity in this world, helps me to navigate a world that otherwise would be confusing. But even more importantly, that light that beckons me and guides me out of a dangerous, stormy place and calls me home. I'll fix my eyes on that, and I will follow that light with reckless abandon. Long ago, God saw you and me in a dark, stormy, dangerous place, and he sent a light. And that light still shines today. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That light shines today. It shines for you. It shines for you to give you direction and perspective. It shines for you to beckon and to guide you home. It shines for you to fix your eyes on and to follow with reckless abandon until you come home. And if you follow it, if you choose to follow that light, what happens is it grows in brightness until someday it will dawn into a brand new day. Someday that light will shatter the darkness. And we can follow that light now until that day. And this Christmas, that's what we celebrate. That's what we remember, that for us, for you and me, a light has dawned. For you and me, living in this world, a light has dawned. Father, thank you that you sent the light. Lord, I am so grateful that you sent the light. Jesus, I am so grateful you came. A young baby boy in a manger, leaving heaven to come here to be a light for me, for us. We thank you for that. We praise you for that. Help us, Lord, to fix our eyes on you. I just pray that we would see the light in the midst of the darkness, and when we see it, we would change course. We would set aside other things, all our other plans and hopes of somehow dealing with what's around us, and instead we would follow you with reckless abandon. I'm grateful for Christmas. I really am, because it helps me remember. It's a time when I can remember what you did. You came to be a light in a dark place for me, for each one of us. Thank you. We praise you and thank you for that, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.